Check it out. There's a bunch of people on here talking about DNA of Israel, J2, and all of this garbage that they talking about. But I want to reference something just so individuals who might engage other people in this discussion might actually be able to call them to question or call into question where they're getting their information from. So this website is called ASOR. I'm gonna read this little excerpt here from the About section of their website. The American Schools of Oriental Research, founded in 1900 and located at Boston University, is the preeminent society for individuals interested in the archaeology and history of the Eastern Mediterranean. ASOR is an international organization that has about 1,500 individual members and about 85 member institutions. ASOR supports and encourages the study of peoples and cultures of the Near East from the earliest times to the present, a nonprofit 501c3. ASOR communicates news with the latest research findings in our publications and throughout lectures in the annual meeting of our overseas institutes, host scholars working in the Middle East. So they are dealing with archaeology, history, and biblical scholars. So this ain't no run-of-the-mill organization. All right. So from there, I want to go to had another page pulled up. Don't worry about that. All right. So I want to go here. This is their website. Now they have an article here, and it's entitled "Genetics and the Archaeology of Ancient Israel." Maybe they'll have something interesting in there. All right. So by Aaron J. Brody and Roy J. King. And I just pulled up Roy J. King, and he's a Stanford University professor, man. Like Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences. But this dude obviously knows what he's talking about. So, and the other guy, Aaron J. Brody, I forget where he is, but he's also a professor, a tenured professor at a respected institution. All right. So, genetics and archaeology of ancient Israel. Who were the ancient Israelites? This question has been endlessly debated, but almost no attention has been paid to their biology. Ancient Israel, no attention paid to their biology. That's now about to change, and a review of modern DNA studies gives hint to the wealth of information that might be gleaned. This is a call for the need for DNA sampling on human skeletal materials from the region. So they've never done that? Our hope is that testing ancient DNA will give us a greater understanding of the peoples of the southern Levant and scientific data regarding ancient groups and identities. Now, don't you think that if they're connecting modern Jewish DNA to ancient Israelite DNA, that they would have done this already? And mind you, this was in 2000, I believe in 13. It doesn't say it here, but they wrote this in 2013. And up until now, none of this testing has still been done. Or if it has been done, it hasn't been released to the public. All right. A database of ancient DNA will also allow for comparisons with modern DNA samples collected throughout the greater region in the Mediterranean littoral, giving a better understanding of the long historical development of regional populations. But without sampling of ancient DNA, we may never know. The need to sample ancient human DNA also comes with a caveat regarding ancient human identities and fractious modern political and social situations through the region. We wish to stress that our reconstruction of ancient group identities through archaeology says nothing about the modern political claims in the Middle East. Okay? Today, there remain legal and political impediments to gather DNA samples from ancient skeletal remains uncovered in the modern state of Israel. In general, excavating or distributing disturbing, Jewish graves is considered immoral by ultra-Orthodox groups who exert political pressure to ensure that state-funded construction projects such as roadways and other public works do not impact Jewish burials. Understandable. Graves that cannot be avoided are typically excavated in a rushed manner, and skeletal materials are reburied as quickly as possible with no time for analysis or sampling. I'm saying that's by design. But let's continue reading. This is one of the reasons there have been so few studies of ancient human DNA, let alone ancient Israelite DNA, in which there have been none released to the public, in the southern Levant. But obstructions with modern Israel do not negate the possibility of sampling remains housed in collections located outside of the region. Are those of the departments of antiquities of the Palestinian Authority and the Kingdom of Jordan. Okay? Scrolling down, modern DNA analysis gives an indication of what might be learned from ancient studies. They also reflect the outcome of population movements that begun during the Iron Age and earlier. Although many modern DNA studies using Y chromosome, which among other things determines sex, and autosomal genome markers, the 22 numbered pairs of chromosomes have been published for Levantine, Arabian, Turkish, and Jewish populations. DNA frequencies from existing groups may not necessarily reflect the ancient population structure of those regions. Multiple migrations and population movements such as Assyrian and Babylonian exiles, Phoenician and Greek colonization, Persian, Hellenistic, and Roman hegemony, immigration of Arabian populations during the initial stages of the Islamic conquest starting in the 700s AD, and the Crusades may have had a profound effect on the distribution of both Y chromosome and autosomal markers. You think? What else? There's some more here. Blah, blah, blah. Let me see. What else? You guys can read this stuff for yourself, man. Another study analyzed 3 Lebanese populations, Christian, Muslim, and Druze, and found that Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews clustered with Lebanese, Christian, and Druze. Lebanese Muslims fell close to Syrians. A statistic analysis of world populations revealed that a Levantine component dominant in Anatolia, Iran, Armenia, Chypriot, Ashkenazi, and Sephardic Jews, and Lebanese Christians and Druids, in contrast to a Middle Eastern component that was dominant in Bedouins, Saudis, Ethiopians, and Moroccans. These cluster on the Mediterranean coastal region and the northern Fertile Crescent, in contrast to the Arabian and North African regions. Both these studies support the hypothesis that Ashkenazi and Sephardic populations, to the extent that they may form a palimpsest of the Iron Age Israelites, may also reflect indigenous late Bronze Age Canaanites. Now, a palimpsest is a manuscript or a piece of writing material which the original has been effaced to make room for later writing, but of which traces remain. So if you're calling people like the Ashkenaz and the Sephardic a palimpsest, that means they're a shadow of the original, a shadow, okay? But how would we know that? Because they haven't tested ancient Israelite DNA. Anyway, let me see, where was I? Geographically, Canaanite archaeological material and the rare textual and linguistic evidence point to the hub of Canaanite culture along the coast of Lebanon and northern Israel, as well as inland to the Galilee region up to the Bekaa Valley. The genetic affinities of the Jewish populations with the Druze and Lebanese may reflect a common Canaanite substrate. You guys can read this stuff. It's talking about J2 and all of this crap. But obviously, they don't even have ancient Israelite DNA to compare these things with. Modern DNA studies throughout the Southern Levant, Middle East, and Mediterranean are only imprecisely connected to the ancient social history. But by sampling skeletal remains from the Southern Levant from secure archaeological contexts, we can begin to build an ancient DNA database, which they do not have currently. This database would provide ancient genetic information that we could then compare with our archaeological reconstruction of varied ethnic groups in the Southern Levant in the Iron One and other periods. Ancient DNA may also be compared with modern DNA in order to better refine our understanding of the long-term histories of human groups and their interactions in the Southern Levant. Okay? Now, if that don't say enough, then I don't know what will. But basically, they don't have ancient Israelite DNA, or they do, but you don't know what it is because they haven't released those studies to the public if there have ever been studies done on said DNA. So until then, please stop with the the underhanded 42 fake. You Negroes got E1B1A DNA. That's Western Africa. Yeah, because that's where the majority of people with that DNA are clustered at this present moment. That's why. Population demographics, people. Peace.